Hi and welcome back. Today we're gonna talk about the thing that really makes a difference between people. The ability called grit. Psychology professor Angela Duckworth researched why talented people often fail to reach their potential, while less talented sometimes achieve incredible results. She was given the opportunity to test her experiments at West Point Military Academy, where the best of the best are brought in to go through one of the toughest education in the United States. Before it starts, the cadets go through a 7-week summer camp in the famous Beast Barracks. 20% drops off during the first 7 weeks, which has a rock-hard schedule of waking up every morning at 5 a.m. until bedtime. In between, hard physical training and education, with no day off or contact with the surroundings. The admission requirements are a mix of cognitive, mental and physical tests, which are mixed together into a type of index that is called candidate points, which will show whether the candidate has what's required to complete the 4-year program. Angela developed a test which she called the GRIT test, which she used on 1,218 cadets before entering Beast Barracks, and compared the result with West Point's own index to see how well they matched, which they did not. No matter how talented a cadet turned out to be, it said nothing about their grit. So what made the difference? It was not the psychology test, IQ or physical ability. The difference was grit. The ability to stick to long-term goals and never ever give up. The same thought that takes you through Beast Barracks. Life tries to break me to see if I can handle it. Grit is a measure of how strong will you have to carry out what you want to do. Most of us give up when the opposition gets too tough, while the gritters go on. Do you want to acquire that ability? To be able to add grit to your mental toolbox, you should master motivation as well as energy and endurance. Here are 10 motivating factors. We'll take them one by one. Number 1. Fear. Because fear is the strongest of all motivating factors, we start here. Fear of other people's opinion, fear that you don't have enough knowledge, fear of the unknown, fear of getting old, fear of not being liked, fear of competition, and fear of being left alone. Things that can be summed up in one sentence: fear of not having enough. But if you rather than repress the fears, activate them to increase your motivation, they transform from negative counterforces to positive driving forces. 2. Family. Your family, the love and responsibility that follows. A second place so strong that it almost puts down the fear from first place. Don't forget to activate responsibility, to love the loved ones. Each time the lack of motivation feels lower than the supply. Number 3. Needs. The German philosopher Nietzsche was the first to formulate the concept of self-realization. Satisfaction is self-realization and not just the enjoyment of pleasures. One thing that inspired Maslow to his famous ladder of needs. Look at me is today's motto. At the same time, long-term thinking is more important than ever. So, what are your needs today and in the future? Go to the planner and list them. Number 4. Prepare yourself with knowledge. Winners know that there are always things to learn. The losers think he already know enough. Constant learning is the foundation of success, one thing that the successful understand, and set aside a couple of hours a week to update themselves in the areas in which they operate. Number 5. Objective. What is it that makes successful people get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, have a cup of coffee, sit down with a notepad and plan the day, with focus on doing the right things rather than doing things right? Surveys shows that a maximum of 3% really know what they want. A survey from State of the Global Workplace divides employees into 3 categories. The first group is committed. That's 13% of the people globally. Second group is uninvolved, 63% globally. And the third group is actively disconnected, 24% of the people globally. In other words, listen to this: 1.3 people out of 10 people drive development and take the business forward. 6.3 people who just do what they are told and lack energy for their work and make excuses when they encounter problems. And listen to this: 2.4 people globally of 10 hit the brakes. The Englishman John Locke spoke of inequity, the lack of balance, a feeling of not being satisfied as the main driving force. So, what are you unhappy with? Your status, work situation, education, appearance, physical or mental condition, your relationships and so on. So what makes successful people get up at 5 o'clock in the morning? They have a will that moves mountains. They have a game plan that they follow at any price. And they have a goal that motivates them forward. Number 6. Freedom. During the late 17th century, something happened due to the forces which drives people. The Frenchman Rousseau laid the foundation for the French Revolution by placing emotion before reason, with the words liberté, égalité, fraternité in focus. Freedom is perhaps the most motivating argument ever. Who does not want out of their prisons, both physical and mental? Number 7. Health. Health is silence, we used to say. The virus COVID-19 has made us communicate in other ways, emphasize the importance of not only keeping us from diseases, but also reviewing our hygiene, our diet and instincts for survival. There are different times now, which makes us review both our physical status and our diet. Number 8. Adversity breeds success. Does that sound strange? The Sound Bad is about a guy from the slum who started studying at a private school, but when he returns to the streets, he had problems with his old friends. When you're strong and good, then you're bad. Being bad is about who the viewer is, sings Michael Jackson, who himself was subjected to physical and mental abuse by his father, who is said to have sat on a chair with a belt in his hand when Michael and the other siblings in Jackson 5 practiced. If they made the slightest mistake, they got a taste of belt. Despite this, Michael managed to achieve success that no other individual artist has ever done. He showed great mental strength, something that in addition to his exceptional talent made him the artist above others. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make the change. Much like my uncle said, when you get better, other things get better. That Michael then burned the candle at both ends is another story. Adversity breeds success is not as strange as it sounds. Number 9. Record. When World War II just was over, they had not been able to develop engines that were strong enough in relation to their weight. Now the border was crossed and it was time for Chuck Yeager, the pilot who was the first man to cross the sound barrier, to show his skill and courage, which he did. At the same time, he laid the foundation for the moon landing 22 years later. A small step for man, a huge step for humanity. Measuring is not just about knowing, it is necessary for development, which makes the constant effort to beating records one of our main driving forces. What record do you want to achieve? To be able to manage a marathon of 42k, to lose 20 pounds in weight, to advance from group to division manager, to climb a mountain, or to double your income in 2 years, and so on. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is to set focus on what's the next big step for you. Number 10. Revenge. Anyone who has read The Count of Monte Cristo understands the power Edmond Dantes got from the thoughts of revenge. At the same time, the joy of life took a beating. Swiss researchers have investigated what happens when the desire for revenge stimulates us. They scanned the brain of subjects who got the chance to take revenge, and found rushes in the part that processes reward. But even if the first experience felt positive, They didn't get rid of the negative emotions. Revenge is a double-sided coin. Because at the same time as you feel stronger by the moment, you weaken in the long run. Or as the philosopher Francis Bacon stated, a man who clings to revenge keeps his wounds open, which would otherwise heal. Nevertheless, there is actually a healthy way to deal with the problem. So coming from the American legend Frank Sinatra, the best revenge against your opposition is success. Massive success. When you feel the sense of revenge knocking, use it as rocket fuel that causes the brain's reward system to pump. Do not let the bitterness take root. Instead of revenge, focus on success. Let's fill in the motivation indicator and take control of your potential. Good luck.